Okay, we should be live.
We did it.
We did it. Can you guys hear us? Let us know. And we're going to go ahead and get started. So, today we're talking about market research. Again, this is our third part. It's all about creating and bringing your market research to the next level.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so quick revisit from part one. I'll cover this and then Liv will introduce today. Part one was all about planning. We're trying to get to the bottom of what does your ideal client need? What does your ideal client need? Every business starts with market research. This is the process of gathering information on what your ideal client needs, wants, and prefers, whether you're doing something new or you're in new times, which is really what we're in right now. It's easy to get overwhelmed and worry that your work isn't relevant. So the key here is representing yourself to who you can serve and how you can serve them. You need to find out what's going on with your ideal client right now. Then, the four parts were writing your hypothesis, quantitative and qualitative research, what the difference is and why they're both valuable, choosing your approach, designing powerful question sets. So if you missed that part of the training, you can still tune in and pay attention today. But we do urge you to go back and listen to part one as well.
Totally.
Part two was all about the invitation. So it's about inviting. We walked you through how to write a powerful invitation to connect with ideal clients, including why you're doing the research, who you're looking to speak with, how long you want to connect, how do you want to connect, phone, video, what's it look like? What gift will you give them in return? We really believe in thanking people for their time. And if they aren't a fit for your market research, how can they introduce you to someone who is? We take you through the process of sharing, where to share, how it looks a little bit different on different platforms, whether you're emailing people or doing a survey or doing phone calls. And we want you to make this a regular practice as an entrepreneur.
Totally. I feel like number two was super jam-packed too. So you'll want to go
Yeah.
back if you missed it.
Yeah, that was a big one. So you definitely want to go back to that. It's about creating your invitation, sharing your invitation everywhere, and then actually getting your calls scheduled.
Yeah, and there's a lot of great scripts in that training too.
Yeah.
Okay, so today is part three. It's the final chapter in the market research saga. And today is all about creating. And so it's really asking you, from your research, what can you create, whether it's client connections, updates to your programs, and all that. So we're going to talk about conducting the actual research and calls. And remember, it could be surveys, emails, and or calls. How to convert your market research calls to sales calls. We're going to go through our tips for analyzing the data that you do receive, and then what decisions you can make from the findings that you come up with through analyzing your data. So the first part about creating is around research and development. If you guys have worked, or you ladies or whatever have worked in a larger company before. I know when I worked in DCPS, we did this all the time, but large companies often have entire departments for research and development, typically known as R&D. It's the process an organization uses to research their market and develop new ways of serving the market. So this really allows any organization, big or small, to get new information that can be used to create products, services, or systems. Its purpose is to innovate, introduce new products, services, or systems, or to improve ones that already exist. Small businesses and solopreneurs, that's us and you, need to do research and development too. It's easier than you think, and we're about to show you, and we really have been showing you a lot of the research part. And now today we're really like, okay, what do we develop or what do we create from actually taking on this market research? So it's time to get some actual research. And I'd love to hear if you're with us today, tag someone who wants to be here or who should be here or is like in this process with us. And then let us know where you're at in your process. I know I talked to quite a few of you last week after the training who were booking the calls and creating your survey and getting everything set to start inviting. So give us a little update about where you are today in your research process. And Katie, you want to take it from here?
Yeah, so let's talk about conducting research. If you're sending surveys or emails, be sure to keep them open for 5 to 10 days so you can ensure as many responses as possible. Send reminders to prompt people to answer who haven't yet. Don't be worried about annoying people or emailing too many times. On average, it takes someone 10 times of hearing the same message to actually respond. So keep those emails going. For phone calls, get anyone on the phone who has said they're open to a market research call, get them on the schedule. And remember to come prepared to those calls with your spreadsheet of questions. Take great notes and record your calls if you can. Be sure to ask permission to record because that's good ethical conduct and also a legality in certain states.
Exactly. Don't break the law for market research. Okay.
And yeah, Liv, you want to talk about converting?
Yeah, I'm just going to pop back for 1 second and conducting the research. Again, if you're popping in, I know I welcomed like 10 new people to our Facebook group today. So if you're here and you're watching this, we do mention like, remember to come prepared with your spreadsheet of questions. If you're like, what's that? Go back to training number 2 because it's going to give you a lot of question stems or prompts and things to think about, and then talk about how to organize your questions so that you can make sense of the research after. And that's really what we're talking about today, like how to make sense of the research after. So one of the things that is really helpful is to understand how to convert your sales or your market research calls into sales calls. So one of the things that if you're going to take this on as a regular practice, and we highly encourage, like Katie talked about last week, like making it a goal, like every week to talk to 2 new people or 3 new people about what you're doing. And everything doesn't have to be a sales call. It can be market research. It can be getting to know people, building relationships, building connections. And then when the time is right, or when you're, what I really say, the time is, it's not about the right timing. It's about being on the phone with the right person who needs what you have to offer. That's really where it's your duty, it's your job to invite them to a follow-up call. So if you feel a connection with your ideal client on the market research call and you genuinely think that you can help them, this is where I was saying last week, like you have to fall in love with the process of getting to know people, understanding their desires, their pain points, and their practical needs. You want to invite them to a follow-up call to actually talk about working with you. I think it's in these bold conversations where you actually say, listen, I really appreciate that we've been on the phone for like 20 minutes. And I would like to invite you to a clarity call, a sample coaching session, a discovery call, or a consultation, whatever you're calling it. We don't want to be the people that try to say like, oh, it's a market research call and then go, psych, I'm going to sell you something. But we do want to be inviting and letting people know that if you have a product or a service or a program that can help them with the thing that is getting in their way or their pain points, whatever, it is encouraged and appropriate to invite them to talk about it. So we suggest actually scheduling the follow-up call while you're on the phone. So here's a little script for you, since we like to give them, and I feel like you don't have to use them word for word, but they can help you build confidence, especially when you're practicing. So how did you like this call? If their response is positive, say, you're actually the exact type of person I love working with. I'd love to work with you and explore, XYZ, their desires, pain points, practical needs a little bit more. Would you be open to having an actual clarity call or sample coaching session, discovery call, consultation, whatever you want to call it? I always did either a sample coaching session or a consultation, but whatever you want to put in there to see if this is a match. If you promised a free gift, like a sample coaching session as a thank you, this is when you can mention that and get it on the calendar. So the real thing is, like, of course you can send a follow-up email and reminder, and we're going to talk about that in a minute, but you really do want to book the follow-up while you have them on the phone, while they're in the energy of, the conversation, whatever topic it is that you're talking about. Do you want to add anything to that, Katie?
No, I think that's really thorough.
Okay, cool. I think this is the last part about converting them to sales calls, but you do want to confirm your follow-up session with an email or a message saying, thanks again for making time to chat yesterday. It was a pleasure. I'm very much looking forward to our whatever type of call you've offered them Tuesday at 1:30 or whatever. Prior to our session, please email me the following: your request for coaching, your goals, your ideal outcomes from our work together, and 3 potential project areas you'd like to focus on. I have notes from our initial conversation that I'll likely bring up during our call. And knowing what I know thus far, we could create an initial project plan for you. However, for the purpose of our call, I'm interested in knowing the key areas you want to focus on and your overall request for our time together. Have a beautiful day, and I look forward to speaking with you on Tuesday. And really, this type of email is A, meant to remind them, and B, meant to keep them excited and keep them engaged with what they say that they want, which probably came up on the market research call and is something that you want to continue, to create and work with them on. We always, especially as coaches, are bringing people back to what they say they want over and over and over again. And whatever obstacles are in the way, we're helping them move out of the way, right? And so this email script or template actually helps you get even more information on what they want to work on and potentially what's in the way, and gives you a container for the actual call. And I also personally feel like it just helps me feel better prepared. So there's that.
So now you might be asking yourself, what the heck do I do with all of this data? We're about to tell you. So you want to analyze it. We want you to first get organized with your data. And we go through this process all the time when we do our own market research. And you can get fun with it. You can get creative with it. You can get out highlighters. And I like to turn it into an art project. But any way that to look at data will work. Here's what we suggest. First, keep it simple. Copy and paste all the emails that you got into one document. Download all of your survey responses into a single Google sheet. If you did a Google survey, it's like a click of a button. It's super easy. Get the answers to your phone questions into one spreadsheet. Hopefully you were doing that along the way because we suggested that early on. But get all of it organized and in one place. Then, if you can, print your documents and start highlighting keywords and important phrases that you're seeing throughout. So we talked about this throughout the first 2 trainings, but a lot of times the words that you use to talk about your ideal clients and their pain points and their desires and their practical needs are different than the words that they use. So you want to really be paying attention to how they talk about themselves, how they talk about their challenges. Another thing you can do is use Control F to find keywords throughout your document. So you might say, like, we've done this before, like we wanted to see how many times the word confidence showed up. We wanted to see how much, the word money or stress showed up. And those can help you figure out what words to use in your own marketing, which we're going to go into a bit more. Take note of repeated words and phrases and exactly how people talk about their desires, their pain points, and their practical needs. That's what you want to be looking for. You could even use one highlighter to look for desires, one to look for pain points, and one to look for practical needs. I like that.
Oh, I like that too. You and your printer. But
I know. I get like so cross-eyed looking at the computer all day, and I really have to put it in front of myself.
I'm even just thinking out loud, like if you do have permission to record the calls and you can have them transcribe. What is that thing we use to transcribe recording? Temi. Yeah, it's pretty cheap, but even something like that, it's never fully accurate, but for the sake of finding keywords and phrases, I'm just thinking now, that could be super helpful to get it transcribed.
It could be super helpful. And I love the idea, but I also just want to say, I don't want to discourage you from just doing it, working with what you have. This does not have to be perfect. The goal is to get as much data as possible in one place and start there.
Yeah, for sure.
After highlighting the keywords, phrases, desires, pain points, and practical needs, ask yourself, how were my findings similar to my hypothesis? So in the very beginning in training one, we talk about creating a hypothesis and how to do that. How are your findings similar to what you thought you were going to find? And then how are they different? What do you know about your ideal client that you didn't know before? What are the top 3 things that you learned about your ideal client's desires, your ideal client's pain points, your ideal client's practical needs? Get it all out.
Yeah. And that's like the key to like turning this into like real research is like actually going back to what you said at the beginning and looking at not so much where you were right and where you were wrong, but just ultimately like what's actually true and what did you learn?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about what decisions you can make with this data. So obviously you can decide that some of the people you talk to are maybe ideal clients that you want to work with. And all of the people that you talk to are people you can continue following up with and checking in on. So before we get into like what to do with the written data and what you extract, like never forget that the people are, now you're starting to build a relationship with them, right? And then when you go back and you look at the actual data, the words, here's what you want to consider when you have extracted the key findings. So it's time to make decisions. So now that you have your data, you can use it to influence your decisions around a bunch of things. First of all, how to speak to your ideal clients on sales calls, clarity calls, coaching sessions, discovery calls, consultations. You already will have learned so much from speaking to people or emailing with people or doing the surveys. It's going to help you feel more confident on sales calls and also, have more information to be able to relate to them, right? Like you can say like I talk to people all the time who are experiencing XYZ, right? And like guess what, you finally have. So you can use it to use some of the language to be able to relate better to your ideal clients on sales calls. You can use this information about how you speak to your ideal clients with your marketing, your messaging, and your content. Again, I remember when I first started coaching, I was using all of this coaching jargon, all of this like I don't know, even some spiritual world jargon. And then I'm like, wait, my ideal clients are literally just sitting at home being like, I hate my job. And I was like out talking about like finding inner peace and their soul's calling. And they're like, what the fuck? I just want to be like, I just want to like my job. Right. So this can also influence how you write your content, write your messaging and overall marketing so that it connects more to your client. So what you include in your website copy, perhaps, I don't know, your about me, your blog, anything. How you position your call to action. And your calls to action may be like what free resources they need. Are they responding more to a sample coaching session, to a discovery call, to a consultation, to a clarity call? What are they actually responding to, and how can you shift your call to action? What products, services, and programs you offer. So when you're doing your market research, maybe you're asking them, like, do you prefer things on video? Do you prefer in-person events? Do you prefer one-on-one sessions? Like getting that information may help you make decisions around how you structure your services or what products you offer. And then what price points and payment plans you provide. When Katie and I did some research a couple, I don't know, maybe a month or so ago, we asked a few questions around like, how much money are you making in your business? How much money do you want to be making in your business? Stuff like that. And it helps us understand where people are at and what would feel like an empowering but also possible investment. So you can use your research to make decisions around that. Anything else you want to add to this, Katie?
No. Mm.
Now what? Go ahead. What do we do
So
from
now what? We went through 3 different trainings. And this is the last step here. You want to conduct your research and play for those follow-up calls. Set a goal for yourself for the calls. For example, for every 2 market research calls I have, I'm going to set 1 follow-up call, right? So try to convert 50%. And you're just playing, you're just learning, you're just practicing. Business is always practice. I really believe that. But this is really key. Do you hear that really loud siren?
Yeah, I actually wasn't sure if it was in my house or yours.
Um, well, that's just telling us how important this is.
Yeah, ring the alarm.
Ring the alarm. Okay. So then you want to analyze your data for trends. this can be happening simultaneously. So like you might have done, I was just talking to somebody in the comments, Christabel was saying she posted a survey. So you might post a survey and then be gathering that research and analyzing that data for trends, and at the same time be scheduling follow-up calls with people or scheduling up calls with new people, because we encourage you to both schedule calls with people who take your surveys that you think are a good person to get on the phone, and then also schedule market research calls with people that you've been emailing with. So you're going to be gathering a lot of data, and it's okay if it feels messy while you're in the research and development process, right? We talked about research and development. This is part of the process that every company goes through and will continue to go through at different times. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of, emails and surveying and calls happening, and then you're trying to get people onto a second call. It's okay if it feels messy. It's okay if it feels like you're not quite sure what people are saying yet, or you haven't found the keywords, or you don't know what the repeating things are that everyone is asking for. As you get more and more research and data, it will start to become clear, I promise. And then the last step is that you want to make updates to your programs, your offerings, your services, your pricing, your payment plans, your copy, your website, so that your work speaks more directly to your ideal clients' desires, pain points, and practical needs. And of course, you also want to get hired by those clients that you've been talking to. So those are our 4 steps. As a next step, we are planning to offer an additional workshop to take you even farther. But for now, we'd love to know what questions you have. And yeah, Liv, do you have anything else to say here?
No, I mean, I think I'm really excited that if I know that there's a few people who have been here every single week and who are following this plan and who are, continuing to commit to this. And whether it's your first one you're watching and you have to go back and watch the others or not, like these videos will remain in our free group for a while. And so if you have questions on any of them, like go back, tag us. We're more than happy to, support you as you develop your questions, or if you have questions on the follow-up calls and all of this. I just think this is something that as businesses, like we must be willing to evolve all the time. And now is really the perfect time to be doing this research if you haven't done it yet, or to be continuing, some form of checking in with your ideal clients, because the world's changing, which means people's lives are changing and their needs are changing. And if you want to stay in business or grow a business, you got to do this. So we're here to support the process.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for joining. And whether you're in our coach training, or you're a graduate, or you're going to take our coach training in the future, this is a really, really great starting point and something to refer to along the way. So thank you so much for joining us for this series, and we look forward to continuing to work with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. See you guys soon. Bye.